You're not going to get rich from your job. And once you understand why, money starts making a lot more sense. Most people think the answer is earning more, but the real problem is how income actually works. And that's why almost half of people making a decent living still live paycheck to paycheck. Now, okay, sure, cost of living is insane. That part makes sense. But this is where it gets wild. Over 40% of people making more than $500,000 a year say they're also living paycheck to paycheck. Now, let that sink in for a minute here. $500,000 a year and still stressed out about money. Now, that's not an income problem. That is actually a behavioral problem. And nobody talks about it because it makes people feel uncomfortable. And the truth is, our entire relationship with money is broken. Now, back in 2014, I was living paycheck to paycheck, watching my bank account hit zero days before payday, telling myself I was doing okay because I had a job while really going nowhere financially. And the scary part was that I didn't even realize how trapped I was until I started doing a few things differently. And the same things that we're going to be talking about today as we go through this video. Because if you understand this, you can be worth millions by retirement. Whether you're starting in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, or even in your 50s. And this isn't about getting lucky, getting rich quick, or having some insane IQ or a great job. It's about understanding how money actually works. So if you want to stop running on the hamster wheel, please hit the subscribe button and let's get into this video because I'm about to show you what changed everything for me. In North America, stats show that up to 37% of people couldn't afford a $400 emergency expense right now. That's $400. A car repair, a medical bill, or even one bad week. You know the old advice, get a job, buy a house, retire at 65. Well, that worked for our parents, maybe our grandparents, but it doesn't work now. That dream is gone. And here's where it gets weird. Most people think that the problem is income. If I just make more, I'd be fine. But the data doesn't back that up. Nearly half of people earning over $100,000 a year say they're living paycheck to paycheck too. So it's not about what's coming in, it's about what's going out and whether anything's left over to actually build your wealth with. So let me just kill this idea right now. A lot of you watching probably think, I'll start building wealth when I make more money. And honestly, that's not how it works. Wealth isn't built when you earn more, it's built when you keep more. Consistently over time. And if you wait till you make enough money, you'll be waiting forever because it will always seem like there's never enough. This is psychological and it's called lifestyle creep. I'll explain more about this in a second, but here's how I think about it. There's 4 things that can actually move the needle. These are levers and we're going to talk about them. None of them are complicated, but most people don't even know them. I'm going to explain them so that you can use them to build wealth even if you're like I was, living paycheck to paycheck. The first lever is the easiest to understand, and it's spending. Nobody wants to hear this, but most people have a spending or a money problem. They spend money on things that feel good in the moment, but do absolutely nothing to move their life forward. Subscriptions they barely use, upgrades they don't need, status purchases that impress people who don't matter. It's not that they're irresponsible, it's that no one ever taught them to ask one simple question. Is this purchase moving me closer to freedom or further away from it? We're taught how to earn money and not how to deploy it strategically. And until you fix that, it doesn't matter how much you make, you will always be broke. Lifestyle creep is when you get a raise and your spending goes up by the same amount. You might get a new apartment, a better car, go out for dinner more often, or whatever it is. Hey, you earned it, right? But most of the time, you don't even realize you're doing it. In the moment, it feels fine because you can afford it now. But what happens is income goes up, spending goes up, and savings stay exactly where they were. You might even make a terrible financial decision that locks you into payments for years, like buying a brand new car that loses something like 30% of its value the second you drive it off the lot. Or maybe you lease a new car, which is basically paying for the most expensive years of the car and then giving it back with nothing to show for it. Or you finance for 7 years and end up underwater owing more than the car is actually worth. Meanwhile, a 2 or 3 year old car with low mileage does the exact same job. You let someone else eat that depreciation. That's thousands of dollars you've just kept. Then there's housing. People stretch to buy the biggest house they can technically qualify for. And now they're house poor. Nice place, but they can't afford to do anything else. No travel, no investing, just making that mortgage payment every single month and hoping nothing breaks. And credit cards. The average rate right now is over 22%. And most people don't realize that's not monthly or yearly. It's daily. They take that 22%, divide it by 365, and then they charge you interest every single day on whatever you owe. So say you put $1,000 on a credit card, if you just make minimum payments, it could take up to 5 years to pay off that $1,000. By then you've paid over $1,500 for what? A TV that's probably in some landfill right now? Now that's not building anything. You're actually paying rent on money you already spent. Now let's talk about the people earning $500,000 and still feeling broke. This is lifestyle creep at its worst. This is the part nobody wants to admit because it feels personal. The bigger house, the leased BMW, the toys, the trips, the cottage, the boat, the motorcycles, whatever it might be, they bought the lifestyle before they built the foundation. And now they're trapped, maintaining an image instead of building wealth. That's why you see people making $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 a year still stressed. Still one bad month away from problems, still saying, I don't know where my money goes. And the fix is boring. It's unsexy, but it works. You start by looking at your numbers. No matter how much money you have or spend, if you don't know where your weaknesses lie, you are destined to be broke. And that's why we built something called the Cash Control Blueprint. It's absolutely free, link down below, and it starts with the stuff most people avoid because in some cases they don't want to know. Subscriptions you forgot about, payments you normalized, money leaking out quietly every single month, that's just to name a few. Then you hit the big ones, the car payment, the house, the credit cards, the interest, the motorcycles, the cottage, the boat, the insurance, repairs, all of these things, all the toys, all of that adds up. And that's where the real damage is done. Because here's the math. Nobody wants to do it, but cutting $100 a month saves you $1,200 a year. It sounds like peanuts, but cutting a $600 payment down to $300, that's $3,600 a year in your pocket. Every year, compounding. And here's where the mindset shift actually changed everything for me. Stop asking, can I afford this? And start asking, does this move me closer to the life I want or further away from it? And once you start thinking that way, your money starts working for you instead of against you. So let's talk about the second lever, income. It's not about just getting a better job. That's too easy. There's two parts to this. Getting more from your main job and adding something on the side. Historically, switching jobs has been the fastest way to get a real raise. We're talking 10 to 15, 20% bumps sometimes just by switching jobs. Now that's way more than the 3% your current employer is probably budgeting for you. But here's the thing. Right now in this labor market, the math is getting weird. For most of 2025, people who stayed at their jobs actually saw slightly better wage growth. So the lever is still there, it's just harder to pull right now, which means the stuff you can control, negotiating where you are, documenting what you've done, actually asking for a raise, that actually matters more than ever. But there's another income lever, and this is the one you can control completely. It's side income. Now, when I was a government analyst, I was also bartending weekends and doing affiliate marketing on the side. Now, was it fun? Not really. Was I tired? Yes, constantly. But that extra cash is what led me to actually do something with my paycheck instead of just surviving on it. And the numbers back this up. About 39% of Americans have some kind of side hustle that makes them anywhere from $900 to $1,000 a month. That's $6,000 to $10,000 a year, we'll say. It's not going to make you rich on its own, but it's enough to pay off a credit card, build an emergency fund, and start investing for real. Now, honestly, the money isn't even the main thing. You're building skills, you're meeting people, you're creating options, and if your job goes away tomorrow, then you've got something else bringing in cash, and you're not starting from zero. Okay, lever 3, and honestly, this is the whole point of the video. You don't need a lot of money to build wealth. You need a lot of time. That's it. That's the secret. Nobody wants to hear because it's not sexy. But I'm going to show you a way to do it without a lot of time too. There's no hack, no shortcut, just math that works if you let it. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. When I say invest, I'm not talking about picking stocks or timing the market or any of that stuff. I'm talking about boring broad market index funds, something that tracks the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is basically the 500 biggest companies in America. Think Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Johnson & Johnson, all of them, okay? Now, when you buy an index fund, you're buying a tiny slice of all of those companies. You're not betting on just one company. And the most popular way to do this is an ETF called SPY, the SPDR S&P 500 ETF. Now, it's been around since 1993 and has averaged about 10 to 11% annually with dividends reinvested. You buy one share, you own a piece of the 500 biggest companies in America. And that's it. No stock picking, no guessing. Some years it's up 25%, some years it's down 35%, but if you zoom out over 30 years, that 10% average holds up. And look, I'm not just saying this from the sidelines. I've been actively investing in my portfolio for over 10 years, and my annualized return for the last 5 years has been about 18.7%. And that's not because I'm a genius, it's because I actually learned how this stuff works and stayed consistent. And that's the kind of stuff I break down on this channel, so if you're not subscribed, you know what to do. But for today, let's just use SPY's historical 10%, no fancy moves, just buy and hold. Freedom 55, let's talk about it right now. So here's the math. If you're 20 and you want $1 million by 55, you need to invest $263 a month in SPY. That's it. $263, you're a millionaire at 55 with 35 years of compounding doing the work for you. And by the way, if you want to run your own numbers and see how this works, what $200, $400, $600 a month turns into at your age, we built a free compounding calculator at howcashworks.com. I'll drop the link down below in the description. Now go play with that because it's actually kind of cool to see and it's actually kind of addicting. Now let's talk about lever 4, but let's be real for a second. What if you're like me and you're in your 40s? Did we miss the boat? No. But math is much different for us. We don't have 35 years. If we want to enjoy our wealth, we've got about 20 to 25 years, which means compounding has less time to work, which means we have to push harder on the many levers that we have. And that's where lever 4 comes in. Real estate or house hacking. Now, I can already see the comments flying in. Real estate is too expensive. Interest rates are too high. I can't afford a down payment. All of these things, okay? I hear you. And it is harder than it was in 2019, but here's the thing. It's always been hard. It's never been a perfect time to buy. People said the same stuff in 2015, in 2010, in 2005, whatever it is. You see, most people think buying a house is an asset, but it's not. Not the way they do it. When you buy a house you live in, money flows out of your pocket every single month. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, utilities, everything. It's a liability. It's not an asset. Housing is the largest expense for most people. Median home prices hit a record this year of $435,000. And if you're renting, you're watching a huge chunk of your income disappear every single month. Your house might appreciate over time, sure, but it's not putting cash in your pocket. It's taking it out. An asset puts money in your pocket. Cash flow, income. And that's the difference we're talking about here. House hacking is just one way to fast track your wealth to set yourself up for a comfortable retirement, even if you're in your 40s or 50s. This turns your home into an actual asset. The classic version of house hacking is buying a duplex or a triplex or converting your existing home at a low cost. You live in one unit, rent out the other unit to other people. Down payments can be as low as 3.5% to 5% if you're a homeowner. And because you're not actually an investor here, you are in the home when you actually set this up. Now here's a realistic scenario depending on where you live. You buy a duplex for $450,000, that includes mortgage, taxes, insurance. You pay about $2,800 a month. You rent the other unit for $1,800, now your effective housing cost is $1,000, and you're building equity every single month. But here's where it gets powerful for the 40s crowd. You don't just house hack once, you do it twice. And every dollar you free up goes into SPY so that it can compound over the years. So when you are, say, 45 to 50, you buy a duplex, you live in one unit, rent the other, your housing cost drops to $1,000 a month, put the extra money into SPY. After setting aside money for repairs and vacancies, whatever else it is, let's say you invest $700 a month. 5 years later, buy duplex number 2, using equity from your first one, move in, rent the other side, and then the duplex number 1 is fully rented. After reserves, you're now investing, say, $800 a month into SPY. By the time you are at age, say, 55 to 65, both duplexes are fully rented, you're in your forever home or still in duplex 2, cash flow's rolling in, you're investing $900 to $1,000 a month, and now let's run the real math. Conservative 8% returns instead of 10, accounting for life actually happening. At 65, your two duplexes are worth $1.5 million combined. You've got around $860,000 in equity, and your SPY portfolio, the money you invested along the way, is worth about $460,000. Your total net worth is $1.3 million. Your annual income is about $58,000 from rental cash flow, plus $18,000 from your investment portfolio. That's $77,000 a year. You didn't start at 22. You didn't need to invest $2,000 a month. You bought 2 properties, lived in them, invested what you could. And that's how you catch up in your 40s. Now, obviously, this is a simplistic way of explaining this plan, but the truth is it works. Prices and rents will vary wherever you are, wherever you live, and there might be pros and cons in your area, but at least you have a starting point. So let's recap the 4 levers and what can potentially throw you off the rails. So for lever 1, spending. The benefit is obvious. Every dollar you don't spend is a dollar you can invest. The trade-off is if you cut too hard, you can burn out. Find a number you can sustain for years and not one that makes you miserable within weeks. The goal is a lifestyle change and not a crash diet. And honestly, the other trade-off is ego. You might have to explain to your friends why you're downsizing, and a lot of people don't want to do that, and that could be a deal breaker. Lever 2, income. This is the only lever with no ceiling. The sky is literally the limit here. You can only cut expenses so far, but income can keep growing. Switching jobs gets you 10 to 15% more. Side hustles average $500 to $900 per month. The trade-off is you don't want to sabotage your job to make $500 freelancing. If you're exhausted and missing deadlines, that promotion goes to someone else. Lever 3, compounding. SPY has returned about 10% historically every single year. $263 a month starting at 25 makes you a millionaire by 55. You don't pick stocks, you just stay consistent and let time work. The trade-off, markets go down. SPY dropped 18% in 2022, also 40% in 2008. If you panic and sell at the bottom, you lock in those losses forever and completely destroy how this plan works. Surviving the drops is a price of admission. Average your money in over time and don't look at the markets for 10 to 15 years if this is the way you want to go. And lastly, lever number 4, house hacking. You cut your housing costs in half, build equity, and create a future income stream all at once. You do it twice in your 40s and you're looking at 1.3 million net worth by the age of 65. The trade-off, it's not passive, vacancies happen, furnaces die, tenants stop paying, all of that stuff. And then there's that pesky ego again. You're in your 40s. Maybe your friends own a single family home in a nice suburb and you're going to live in a duplex with a tenant on the other side of the wall. Some people can't get past that. They'd rather retire at 70 with a prestigious address than retire at 60 with freedom. And that's fine. Just know what you're choosing here. And that's it. 4 levers. Each one has a cost. Each one has a payoff. The more you pull, the faster everything moves. Look, I started this video by saying you're not going to get rich working. And that's true. Your paycheck alone isn't the thing that builds wealth, but your paycheck is the raw material. The majority of people are living paycheck to paycheck right now. And if that's you, I get it. I've been there. Many times it feels like there's nothing left at the end of the month. Like this stuff is for people who already have money. But trust me, it is not. $200 a month is enough to start. That's $50 a week. That's skipping a few DoorDash orders. That's cutting out 1 or 2 nights at the bar. That's maybe making a coffee at home instead of going to Starbucks every day. $200 a month in SPY for over 30 years is over $450,000. That means you need to come up with $50 a week. It's probably already leaking out of your account. You're just not paying attention to where it's going. You don't need a 6-figure salary. You don't need to start at 22, and you don't need to be perfect. You just need to start and not stop. Compounding doesn't care where you came from. It doesn't care that things are tight right now. It just needs 2 things: consistent contributions and time. The wealth isn't in the paycheck. It's in what you do with it. Pick a lever, pull it, and then pull another one. And if you want to see exactly what your numbers look like, go to howcashworks.com and use our free compounding calculator. This stuff works, but only if you do. I'll see you in the next one. Please subscribe if you like these videos. Take care.